Hello with you, Elena, and today we will be cutting the corn from the foot very accurately. Last time, as you remember, if you don't remember, I'll leave a link. I showed how we remove the corn from the little toe, but today on the foot itself. A callus is sometimes mistakenly confused with a wart. Here, it's important to note how to distinguish them. It's very simple. When you have a callus, the skin pattern remains. That is, if you look closely, this pattern on the sole is the same as the fingerprints. It will stay in place. Yes, it will be a slightly different color, changed, but nonetheless it will be. If you have a corn, then there will be no skin pattern and there will be such small black dots. I don't know, we call them capillaries, vessels, variously, we call them differently. Typically, the difference lies within this. And when we need to check precisely, we usually spray with antiseptic when the skin is moist. It's very good at understanding this, but sometimes there is a situation when it's not clear, because there can be, and on the callus there can also be a strong enough skin growth if it's old. Sometimes you have to shave a little under the disc or the cap to get to the truth, and only then spray antiseptic and try to understand what we have there. And while Elena was virtually extracting this wonderful cap, I got distracted and lost a bit of focus. So that's what I wanted to say. The thing is, if you have a cold, you absolutely cannot work in the way you see in the video now. Because if we start poking at the wart, it will really not like it and the situation will get much worse. On the other hand, a corn must definitely be removed. In our case, simply taken out from there, or in simple terms, cut out. Of course, in the clinic, there or with the surgeon, yes, wherever you go to a dermatologist, they will offer you a laser burning option. Unfortunately, I have seen the consequences of such burns more than once. I can't speak for all the doctors in the world, whether they all do it right or wrong there, but unfortunately experience shows that there can be very deep burns and not very pleasant consequences. That is, scars remain, by the way. I often see scars from burns. We had one man who had a lot of warts on his foot. He constantly burned them and he has scar after scar, ridge after ridge. He chases the ridges. The situation is unpleasant, though not highly visible on the foot. Ultimately, everyone must decide for themselves. The thing is that the rehabilitation process after laser removal, for example, of a wart or corn is very long and very painful. Otherwise, you simply won't be able to step on your foot for some time, which will probably cause problems and difficulties at your work, for example. Nonetheless, my duty is to warn you. I am in no way suggesting not to see a doctor and to categorically treat yourself with some kind of folk medicine and so on. We just propose such a method of solving this problem by mechanically removing it. After all, a corn is nothing else but the point accumulations of dry skin cells that do not exfoliate. It's called a corn because all this goes well into the skin, thus causing these unpleasant sensations. Sometimes, by the way, the client twitched because it tickles her. That's why this little hammer always tickles here. When a person has a corn, they have a feeling that something is constantly stuck in it. I don't know, a toothpick. Or like a pea, you can also draw an analogy with the princess on the pea. The fact that you walk around and you constantly have a pebble there. If you've ever had a pebble get into your sandal, then you roughly understand what I'm talking about. And of course, you can't endure this for long. Sooner or later, a person starts looking for a solution to this problem and doesn't always end up in the right places. Of course, the master can also incorrectly remove or not cut it, that is, not clean these dry cells, and then there will be no result. And the most important thing after all this manipulation is that Lena for some reason did not film it on camera. By the way, I'll ask later, but most likely it was during the work process and she didn't actually have time to film it. The most important thing after this is to set the load, that is to make it so that it's on its own. This is the place where the spinal cord was removed, this little hole, so that over time there would be no load there. A special material is installed there on an adhesive base similar to, I don't know, polyurethane foam, if I said this word correctly. Well, in general, there is such a soft bump on a sticky base which is cut around, leaving strips under the corn itself, and around there will be such a soft roller. All of this will cushion while walking, and there will be no pressure on this very point. And of course, I won't resist repeating this. The orthopedist is there to help us all. We must definitely turn to the orthopedist and choose crutches, because crutches here are a real way out of the situation. Otherwise, you can remove the corn, but it will come back if you don't eliminate the cause. I will speak until everyone hears me. Was Elena with you? Bye for now. Write and like my posts.